So we're counting down to those. We're counting down to the trade period, Tom. There's a number of names that are coming and going in the news cycle as it unfolds. We might just work our way through some of these.
Where do you want to start?
Phil can fire some cheap shots from the peanut gallery if he wants.
Can we start at Tom Barrass?
Why not?
Yeah, so the Dogs have offered 4 years. They are prepared to offer 5 if it does get to that. The Hawks are also keen. His management met with the Hawks on Wednesday morning. Barrass's wandering mind and eye is because he believes West Coast hasn't held up its end of the bargain following a verbal agreement 18 months ago. So to take you back, he wins the Best and Fairest in 2022. Sydney was showing interest. His sister had just moved to Sydney, which was the attraction for that. And he goes against the advice of his manager, Barrass, and he meets with West Coast officials and he says, this is what the Sydney Swans were offering. This is what I think you should pay me. Not as much as the Swans were offering, but enough to sort of restructure the deal based on what he signed for a year earlier than that. West Coast, to his delight, say, yes, no worries. We can do that, a verbal agreement, handshake. And that only comes to fruition in the last few months, so only a few months ago. But it's nowhere near what he expected. And as a result, he's having a look around. And the Dogs and the Hawks, they know this. His sister is moving from Sydney to Melbourne this week, and that's significant for him.
This is where the 5 years come in as well from some clubs, because he's got still got 3 to go, which horrifies some people at West Coast. But he wants the 2 added on to that in an ideal world to then get what, the demand for the key backs at the moment, some of the recontracting that's happened before him at West Coast, which feeds into what you're saying about the handshake agreement with the previous administration, I might add.
Not the people that are there now, which complicates things a little bit. It
does indeed.
He's almost 29. If you're West Coast and you can get a good draft pick or 2, are you doing this, Phil?
Well, yeah, I'm trading him. Yeah, that's. I think it's just part of where they're going. Is that he's been a great servant. He's 29 in October. 3 years left is fine with me. Like that's West Coast are in a great position. I didn't know about those ins and outs about the handshake agreement. Always get things in email is another good way to get it. Make sure you've got the.
Did you do that in writing?
Well, no, I just I always made sure I paid attention in that law class about contract law. So. No, was it? Always have good news in writing and bad news in words. So when he got that, he should have done a follow-up email. But no, I think it makes sense for everyone for him to be traded. I think it just suits. He's worth a first-round pick. I don't think his actual number, the money he's on, is going to affect.
No.
Like we saw the Bose one is the extreme version when someone's on so much money, you actually have to trade away with a pick. I don't think there's any effect to his trade value because he's got 3 years left on the money. I presume he'll be going on more money.
More money, and I don't think he's on. And rivals believe he's on 700 or less at the moment. So the Dogs' idea would be that they get the pick for Bailey Smith, assuming he does leave. They then transfer that on to the West Coast Eagles, and there might be a couple of late swaps.
He's worth a first round and a second round pick.
Depends what the first round pick is, though.
Let's just throw a number. 12 and 25 feels like the right sort of cumulative number for Tom. Key backs, it is a great time to be a key back.
And he knows that, for sure.
And he can squirrel away in 3 years. He's probably still got a little bit of value depending on how his body pans out. But the amount of key backs in the game, we'll talk about another one who's on the borderline of being a key from a hybrid in Josh Battle in a second. But they're just hard to find at the moment. And I think it just suits everyone. West Coast are going a different path. Thank you, Premiership player. We appreciate everything you've done.
And life member from today because he plays, or from this weekend because he plays game 150, and that's significant.
And I think that's just good business. That's a deal that will suit everyone. As I said, first and a second round pick, deal's done. Away we go.
Yeah, Dogs are absolutely desperate to get someone in. You've only got to look at Ben Mackay not that long ago to see what some key backs are getting paid at the moment. It'll be fascinating to see where that goes. Clayton Oliver's contracted until 2030, Tom. Now, I know you're across this as much as anyone, and yet the smoke just continues to waft around the competition.
It does. As best as I can read this situation, I've made a lot of calls on it the past couple of weeks. The best gauge on this is what rival clubs think. The best gauge on this is what rival clubs can think, because in all likelihood, they're the ones who are being told the truth. So they believe Oliver is very much open to the idea of a move, and while the Demons are simply saying no, that could easily be a negotiating tactic. The Demons said no that they were trading Jesse Hogan. He went to Freo. The clubs say no all the time.
They could not be more... So to give
they are being categoric.
They could not be more concrete when they say he's going nowhere.
I agree with that. So I've been told that as well. But rival clubs believe it's still a possibility.
How is this so? So Clayton's talking?
Clayton or his management or people close to him, I'm not sure. But either way, rival clubs believe it's not dead in the water.
How many times has he started on the bench in the last period of time?
Well, 4 times on the bench because they believe they've got Trent Rivers who's playing good footy.
Surely that can't be the source of...
They had to tag Zach Merritt and
Surely
Jack Viney's the
can't,
captain that week.
Surely that can't be the source of his angst.
Well, it might be source of some angst, but he's not going to ask for a trade because he started on the bench 4 times. You know, and Melbourne, it's a bargaining at this point in the season. There's no way that Melbourne could say, actually, yeah, we're considering a trade. Like, there's no way they could say that because that would just make them look silly. He's a 4-time best and fairest, 3-time All-Australian. It's just not going to happen. The biggest impediment here is the cash, clearly. Now, people have said $7 million over 7 years. No. Full TPP. This is closer to
TPP.
$10 million over 7 years. It's an unbelievable deal. So he's 6 years left. Which club has the space and who could foot this bill? I really think the Adelaide conversation is outdated. I don't think Adelaide Crows are in this at all. They can't afford him. They don't necessarily want him for that price. I'm just looking at clubs like Geelong. I'm looking at a club like Essendon and St Kilda, but I think Essendon and St Kilda wouldn't take him because of the off-field stuff. So really, it limits the options if he did want to go.
Well, the hardest thing about this discussion is I know everyone's been questioning his form. He's an A grader. He's an A plus. He is very, very good when everything is under control. And he's had a tough year. There's no doubt about that. But he's a gun. He's a flat out gun. And the thing about that is clubs are desperate. And you've got to make a decision about, do we just need the talent? And we'll make all the other stuff work. We'll put all these parameters around him. And, you know, if the money's irrelevant, you look at St Kilda, they keep on talking that they want A graders. And they've got to make a very, very big cultural decision. Do we just need the talent through the door and we back ourselves to help Clayton in? Or do we just have to pass and then it's up to Melbourne to make a decision? Because if Melbourne say he's up for trade with that contract, we're talking a second-round pick, aren't we, Tom? To get the deal done. But if they don't want to trade him, it's a first-round
Give us everything.
pick.
At least one.
Once,
Give us everything.
Once again, we get... So I think it's a negotiation tool. You know, I can't see him being that frustrated about staying on the bench because he'll be on the ground 3 minutes. So it's just if you get caught... It's not... I remember Roy Sloane's debut. He played 29% game time. So the game's not like that how it once was, and that was 2009, to where it is now where, like, he'll be on the ground in 5 minutes. But, you know, it's an incredibly difficult one. The salary is an impediment, but he's an A grade. That's not an overs contract. I know it is on current form, but I think there'll be a club out there that thinks they can put in the right program around him, and Melbourne think they can too, to get him back to playing where he is and away he goes.
I'd be staggered if he wasn't in red and blue next year and beyond.
Do you think it's impossible, though?
As close to impossible as it can get, for mine anyway, in the conversations I've had. Hey, there's so many names here. We're not going to get to them all, that's clear. But just one of Clayton Oliver's teammates, it's just emerged a few murmurs around his Ed Langdon.
Ed Langdon's out of contract. He signed a 5-year deal when he joined from the Fremantle Dockers. I don't think he's going to leave for another club, but we'll have to wait and see when he re-signs or if he re-signs.
Yeah, if he re-signs.
Yeah, if he re-signs, because, I mean, you don't know what he's thinking, but they've opened discussions.
Conor Nash at Hawthorn?
Conor Nash at Hawthorn's a free agent, and there's been some real interest for him. I got told this week that a club had said they're prepared to offer 6 years for Conor Nash. So I don't know who that club is, but I'm looking. It's not Essendon. I don't think. Whatever the case is, Conor Nash, the belief from clubs now is that 6-year deal or whatever it is, he'll be staying at the Hawks. That's the belief from rival clubs. But, geez, that's a big offer for a free agent of Conor Nash's ability, isn't it?
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not all across whispers and thoughts of list managers at the moment. But that kind of offer seems as though it's a list manager or group that's concerned about Tasmania coming in. And they want to get as much talent in now that everyone knows what Conor Nash can do. But when you go towards a draft and a new team coming in, you're worried about players leaving. You want to make sure your list is in a really good spot by 2026.
Yep.
Because you know it's about to get a little bit crazy after that. And you want to get and that sort of thing. As we've seen, Conor Nash is a very good role player. He does some great stuff for Hawthorn. So I think he stays. But I'm more interested in, like, why a 6-year deal? It doesn't feel like that's where he sits in terms of tenure.
Well, I don't think the Hawks would offer 6 years. It's more the other clubs
saying,
so I mean,
it's more like when you're coming in, there's 3 prices you pay for a player. The price to stay, which is generally lower, the market value, and then what another club's willing to play for you. And that's money and time. So as you said, like, market value for Conor Nash might be a 4-year deal, but someone's coming in to 6 to try to steal him, and Hawthorn will be offering him 3 or 4. That's sort of how I sort of feel about that one.
Yeah.
You've got Jack Steele written down here, the captain of the Saints. Contract until 2027.
There was a lot of noise around Jack Steele last year that nothing ever eventuated. But there was a view among rival clubs and player managers that the Saints were open to discussions around Jack Steele 12 months ago.
Yep.
Now, whether this eventuates this year again, I'm not sure. It's a big call if you're going to trade your captain. He's a much-loved player there. But clubs who need midfielders who are reliable and good character, I just wonder whether they'll have a look at Jack Steele this year and try to prime out of St Kilda. St Kilda might say no, but nevertheless, it could be a conversation that picks up.
Yeah, well, once again, he's a great player. He's a great leader. And he's a great teammate. So, in my mind, my initial thought is, why would St Kilda trade him? But if they don't think he's in the next premiership team, we know who's over there. Gubby and Sauce are there. If they don't think he's in the next premiership team, cash him out and get...
What's he worth?
Yeah, once again...
Well, you wouldn't be doing it unless you got...
He's probably not worth 2 firsts. He could be worth 12 and 18.
Just remember, St Kilda will have pick 4 on current ladder position. They'll get pick 5 if Josh Battle goes to the Hawks on that monster deal we can talk about. And then, if they get a steal that goes out, they could have another late first-round pick. They want to keep good draft picks in their trade period negotiations.
So just quickly, because we're going to run out of time, Bailey Smith definitely gone.
Well, we think so.
99.9.
Yep.
Liam Baker.
I think gone as well. Don't you?
Yep. As Cam Zerha stays.
I think he stays. Yep, hasn't signed yet, but I think he stays.
Josh Battle 50-50, 60-40, 70-30?
I think Josh Battle's more likely to leave, but I don't know for sure. I mean, the Hawks are offering good cash. He's on about $400,000 this year, which is why he's an unrestricted free agent. So his pay's going to more than double wherever he goes, even if he does stay.
Are West Coast still at the table for Tim English?
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yes, they are. Yep. And that I can't read that. I think it's 50-50.
Shea Bolton, contracted long-term at Richmond. And Adamuze, most upset this has become a topic of conversation. Does he stay at Punt Road then?
I think he probably stays, but I don't know for sure.
And a couple of Phil's old teammates, he'll refrain from making comment on these guys. Isaac Cumming and Harry Perryman.
I'm not sure about Isaac Cumming, free agent. Harry Perryman's got a 7-year deal on the table from somewhere. The Giants have upped it to 6.
There's been interest in both right throughout the course of the year.
I know Port like Perryman, Hawthorn like Perryman. I mean, the Hawks have so much cash. A lot of clubs have more cash than what they thought they would have 2 or 3 years ago because the CBA's gone up by so much.
Yep.
But you look at the Hawks, you look at Essendon, you look at North, they're the clubs that can be really ambitious.
On that with this cash thing, and that's what I think is really confusing a lot of people at the moment, is what was 600 is now 800. Once was 801 million. And my follow-up question is with this Josh Battle discussion, have the AFL changed the cash component of the formula for free agency? Because I heard them talk about tenure. That's now going to be a big factor. But once again, 700 and a 4-year deal, that wouldn't have been a first-round compensation.
There's 3 components. One is the length of the deal. One is the age of the player. So therefore, Ben Mackay last year it was 25 or 26, and the other is the average earning.
But
so that Battle will be a band 1 compensation because he's young. And it's a long-term deal, and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's not a lot of money into where the contracts are going. So
no, but it's all based on the cohort. Who else is out of contract? Who else is a free agent?
But don't we think that's like a flawed system? Because 900 used to be 700, and just because of the cohort that's coming out, that shouldn't dictate. Like what I mean is that all the people that could have been free agents, their clubs signed early. Is he compared to those signings, or is he compared to the free agency signings?
I'm not sure. We sat in on a meeting with the AFL last year, and they were the 3 elements. But it's a really good. Because
that's my question: is that Sam Taylor is almost in that cohort, but he doesn't even get to free agency. He signed Josh Battle compared to Sam Taylor's contract makes Josh Battle not look like a first-round compensation. So that's my point. Is I want to know who they're comparing. I would let them be very clean. I've probably missed that, but Josh Battle on 900, it's a really good deal.
You want to know who the cohort is.
That's what I care about, because I'm comparing Josh Battle to all the stars that don't even go to free agency and they sign before they get there. Well, they call them pre-agents, and they do that 6-year extension before. Like Clayton Oliver was a pre-agent when he did his deal.
Harrison Petty was a pre-agent, and he signed a 2-year extension as well.
So they're the numbers that I'm interested in, because that's the market value, not the cohort.